The screens around Kepler Station showed the same impossible sight. A fleet of ships was coming toward them through space. The ships were huge, sleek, and powerful looking. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of fish swimming through. The Stars. Commander Jake Martinez counted the ships on his scanner. 50 vessels, he said quietly. All of them bigger than anything we have seen before. The aliens who had been laughing at the old Phoenix ship now stood in shocked silence. Their leaders hurried to the station's communication center. "This is Kepler Station Control," said the Vorthix Station commander. "Unknown fleet, please identify yourselves." A clear voice answered over the radio. "Kepler Station, this is Admiral Chris Adams of the new Phoenix Fleet. We request permission to dock for peaceful contact." Jake felt his heart skip. Adams, the same name as the Phoenix captain. Dr. Ben Clark was still holding Captain Roy Adams' journal. His descendant, he said. The family kept the promise. On the main screen, one ship separated from the fleet and moved toward the station. It was beautiful and frightening at the same time. The hull was smooth and silver. Blue lights ran along its sides. It was clearly built with technology far beyond anything the aliens had seen. "How big is that ship?" asked Amy Foster. Sam Wright checked his instruments. 3 kilometers long. "It is bigger than most space stations." The aliens gathered around. Their leaders. They whispered nervously to each other. "Impossible," said Kilmass. "Humans do not have technology like this." "Where did they get ships like that?" asked Horden Zilinth. The Vorthix historian spoke slowly. 800 years is a long time. If the humans have been building in secret all this time. The lead ship docked with Kepler Station. The docking bay was barely big enough to hold it. Through the windows, the aliens could see people moving inside the ship. They wore uniforms that looked both familiar and strange. "Attention, Kepler Station," said Admiral Adams' voice. "I am coming aboard with a small diplomatic team. Please prepare to receive us." Jake straightened his uniform. "I should meet them." "I am the ranking human officer here. We will come with you," said Ben. "They will want to see what we found." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Admiral Chris Adams stepped onto Kepler Station. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. His uniform was dark blue with silver stars on the shoulders. Behind him came 12 other humans. They moved with confidence and purpose. Jake stepped forward. "Admiral Adams, I am Commander Jake Martinez. Welcome to Kepler Station." The Admiral looked around at the aliens and humans gathered to meet him. His eyes stopped when he saw the old Phoenix ship in the docking bay. "Commander Martinez," Admiral Adams said, "I see you have found something important." "Yes, sir." "We found the Starbound Phoenix, your ancestor's ship." Admiral Adams walked slowly to the old ship. He touched the scarred hull with his hand. 812 years, he said quietly. "We have been waiting 812 years for this moment." The aliens watched nervously as more humans came off the Admiral's ship. They were not soldiers, but they moved like people who knew how to fight. "Admiral," said Jake, "these aliens were studying the Phoenix. They thought it was built by some primitive species." Admiral Adams looked at the group of aliens. His expression was polite but serious. "I see. And what did they conclude?" Kilmass stepped forward. We made mistakes. We did not know the ship was human." "Of course you did not know," said Admiral Adams. "That was the point. My ancestor and his crew bought us 800 years of peace by making you think." We were gone. Ben Clark brought out Captain Roy Adams' journal. "Admiral, we found this. Your ancestors' records of the mission." Admiral Adams took the journal with careful hands. He opened it and read a few lines. His eyes got wet with tears. "He made it," the Admiral said softly. The old man actually made it to the outer systems. Sir, said Amy Foster, the journal says the Phoenix established 17 colonies. Are they still there? Admiral Adams smiled. Still there? Dr. Foster, those 17 colonies became 17 worlds. Those 17 worlds became 54 systems. We now have over 2 billion people living in the outer systems. The aliens gasped. 2 billion humans in the outer systems. The space they thought was empty was actually full of human cities and ships. But how did you stay hidden for so long? Asked Morgex. We learned from the Phoenix crew, said Admiral Adams. My ancestors' logs taught us to be careful, to watch before we acted, to build our strength in secret. Pete Johnson asked, what about technology? Your ships are far more advanced than anything Earth has. 800 years of constant research, said Admiral Adams. When you are surrounded by enemies, you learn to innovate quickly. We studied every piece of alien technology the Phoenix captured. We improved on it. We made it better. Kate Morgan had been looking at the Admiral's ship through the windows. Sir, I do not recognize any of the technology on your ship, because it is human technology, said Admiral Adams. Designed by humans, for humans. We took the best ideas from every species and combined them into something new. Zillinth stepped forward nervously. Admiral Adams, our species had conflicts with the Phoenix long ago. We did not know they were protecting colonists. No, said Admiral Adams. You thought. You were fighting invaders. I understand that. But you were wrong. Horton asked, what happens now? Do you want revenge for the old wars? Admiral Adams looked surprised. Revenge? For what? You helped us become stronger. Every battle taught us something new. Every defeated alien ship gave us better technology. He walked over to the Phoenix and touched its hull again. This old ship and its crew turned humanity from a single-planet species into a galactic power. We should thank you. The aliens looked confused. This was not what they expected. Admiral, said Vectu, your ancestors' logs mention some of our people helped the Phoenix. Yes, said Admiral Adams. Vorthic Engineer Kyldar, Zilani Captain Morkis, Kresh Pilot Tekvi. They are remembered as heroes in our colonies. We built monuments to honor them. Kilmass made a soft sound. Kyldar was our ancestor. Our leaders said he was a traitor. Your leaders were wrong, said Admiral Adams. Kyldar helped save hundreds of thousands of human lives. His engineering knowledge helped us build better ships. We owe him a great debt. Jake asked the question everyone was thinking. Admiral, what are your plans now? Will you reveal all the human colonies? Admiral Adams looked out at the stars through the station windows. Commander, we are already revealed. This fleet is just the advance guard. Behind us come the trade ships, the colony transports, the research vessels. Humanity is ready to take its place among the galactic community. As what? Asked Morgex nervously. As equals, said Admiral Adams. We do not want to conquer anyone. We want to trade, to learn, to share knowledge. The old wars are over. Ben Clark had been thinking about something. Admiral, if your colonies have been hidden for 800 years, why reveal yourselves now? Admiral Adams smiled sadly. Because Earth called us home. Your planet is facing challenges that require all of humanity to work together. The outer colonies have resources and technology that Earth needs. It is time for the human family to reunite. Amy, Foster asked, what about the aliens? How will this change things? It will change everything, said Admiral Adams. The balance of power in the galaxy just shifted. But we hope it will shift toward peace, not war. He turned to address all the aliens. Your species tried to stop one primitive human ship 800 years ago. You failed. That failure allowed humanity to grow strong. Now we are offering you partnership instead of conflict. Zilinth spoke for the aliens. What kind of partnership? Trade, technology exchange, cultural sharing. The same things civilized species do when they meet as equals. And if we refuse? Asked Horden, Admiral. Adams looked at him calmly. Then you refuse. We will not force you. But remember, the outer systems you avoided for 800 years are now human space. We control the trade routes to the galaxy's edge. We have resources you need and technology you want. He paused and looked at the old Phoenix ship. My ancestor fought to give his people a chance to survive and grow. We have survived. We have grown. Now we offer you the same chance he wanted for humanity a place among the stars. The aliens talked quietly among themselves. This was not invasion or conquest. It was something much more challenging. It was an offer of equality from a species they had underestimated for 8 centuries. Jake looked at the Admiral's ship and thought about the Phoenix. One old, patched-up ship had become a fleet of 50 advanced vessels. A few thousand desperate colonists had become billions of people, all because some humans had refused to give up when the odds were against them. Admiral, Jake said, your ancestor would be proud. Admiral Adams nodded. I hope so, Commander. The Phoenix crew gave us the stars. Now it is our job to prove we deserve them. As he spoke, more ships appeared on the screens. The main human fleet was arriving. Hundreds of vessels of all sizes were coming to Kepler Station. The age of hidden human colonies was over. The age of humanity as a galactic power had begun. And it all started with one old ship that aliens had laughed at, not knowing they were looking at the foundation of their own future. The aliens stopped laughing. They looked at each other with confusion and doubt. That is not possible, said Kilmass, his crystal body making nervous sounds. No single ship could fight our fleets and win, especially not a primitive ship like this. You are lying, added Horden, waving his tentacles. Humans are new to space. 800 years ago, you could barely leave your own planet. Commander Jake Martinez looked at Dr. Ben Clark. Show them the evidence. Ben carried out a box of items from the ship. He set it down in front of the aliens and opened it. Inside were alien weapons, pieces of alien ships, and uniforms from all 3 species. These were taken from your ships, Ben said, by the crew of the Phoenix. The aliens crowded around the box. Kilmass picked up a Vorthic crystal weapon. It had been changed with human parts added to it. This is our technology, he said slowly. But it has been modified. The humans on this ship learned how to use your weapons, said Amy Foster. They captured them in battle and made them work better. Vec 2, the Kresh metallurgist, picked up a piece of metal from the box. This is from a Kresh battle cruiser. The metal is very strong. How did they get this? According to their battle records, said Pete Johnson, they destroyed or captured over 200 alien ships during their 5-year mission. 5 years? Asked Zilinth. You said this ship survived in space for 5 years? Not just survived, said Kate Morgan, who had been quietly reading through more reports. They thrived. Look at this. Kate held up a thick folder of papers. These are tactical reports written by Captain Adams. He studied each alien species and figured out their weaknesses. She opened the folder and read from it. Vorthic ships are strong, but slow to turn. Attack from above or below, where their big guns cannot reach. Silani ships are fast, but their engines overheat if they fight too long. Make them chase you in circles until they have to stop to cool down. Kresh ships fight in groups, but they panic if their command ship is destroyed. Target the biggest ship first. The aliens listened in shocked silence. This human studied us like we were insects. said Vectu, his insect-like head clicking nervously. It gets worse, said Sam Wright. He had brought out a large star chart. This shows all the battles the Phoenix fought. Look at the pattern. Sam spread the chart on the ground. Red marks showed where fights had happened. At first, the red marks were scattered and small. But as time went on, they got bigger and more organized. The early battles were defensive, Sam explained. The Phoenix was just trying to protect the human colonies. But later, they started attacking alien bases and supply lines. They learned how to fight like a real space fleet, added Pete, even though they only had one ship. Horden stared at the chart. These battle sites, some of them are in Zilani territory, deep in our space. The Phoenix did not just defend, said Jake. It carried the fight to your home systems. Amy Foster had found something else. She held up a damaged piece of alien equipment. This is a Kresh communication device. The Phoenix crew figured out how to listen to your radio messages. They spied on us? Asked Vectu. They had to, Amy said. One ship against 3 empires. They needed every advantage they could get. Ben Clark brought out the most shocking evidence of all. It was a folder marked Allied Forces. What is that? Asked Jake. According to these documents, Ben said, the Phoenix was not alone by the end. They had convinced some aliens to join them. He opened the folder and read from it. Vorthic engineer. Kyldar and his crew joined the Phoenix after their own leaders abandoned them in battle. Zilani Captain Morcus brought 12 ships to help defend New Haven Colony. Even some Kresh pilots flew with the Phoenix fleet. The aliens looked at each other in shock. Our people helped these humans? Asked Kilmass. Some of your people, Ben said. The ones who saw that the Phoenix crew treated their prisoners well. The ones who realized that humans were not invaders, but refugees looking for a new home. Kate Morgan found another report. Listen to this. It is from Captain Adams' final log. The Vorthic engineer Kyldar has become like a brother to me. He saved our ship 3 times with his knowledge of crystal technology. When this war is over, I hope our species can be friends instead of enemies. Zilinth, the Vorthic historian, made a soft sound. Kyldar, that name is in our old records. He was declared a traitor and erased from our history. Because he helped humans, said Amy. We thought he had gone mad, Zilinth said quietly. Our leaders said he was corrupted by primitive thinking. Pete. Johnson had been studying the alien weapons from the box. These modifications are brilliant, he said. Whoever worked on these understood both human and alien technology better than most engineers today. The Phoenix crew learned fast, said Sam. They had to. Their lives depended on it. Jake looked at the aliens. They were not laughing anymore. They looked worried and confused. There is something else you should know, Jake said. The Phoenix was not the only ship. According to these records, Earth sent 12 colony ships to the outer systems. 12 ships? Asked Morgex. What happened to the others? Ben answered. Some were destroyed. Some made it to their target systems and set up colonies. But the Phoenix was the only one that stayed to fight. The others focused on building and hiding. How many colonies did they establish? Asked Kilmass. Amy looked through the reports. 17 successful colonies. The smallest had 10,000 people. The largest had 50,000. That is over 300,000 humans, said Horden slowly. 800 years ago, added Jake. Imagine how many people live in those colonies now. The aliens went very quiet. They were starting to understand what this meant. Those outer systems, said Zilinth. The areas we avoid because they are too dangerous. The regions where our ships disappear. The places you call cursed space, added Vectu. Jake nodded. Not cursed, protected. The Phoenix and its allies made sure those systems stayed safe for human colonies. Kate Morgan found one more document. It was a letter written by Captain Adams to his wife on Earth. "My dear Sarah," she read aloud, "I know I will never see Earth again, but our mission has succeeded beyond our wildest hopes. The outer systems are ours now. The colonies are strong and growing. Our children will have new worlds to live on. The aliens tried to stop us, but they underestimated what humans can do when we fight for our families." Amy wiped tears from her eyes. They did it with one old ship and a lot of courage. "Not just courage," said Pete. "Intelligence, determination, the ability to learn from their enemies and turn their own weapons against them." Ben closed the journal. The Phoenix crew knew they were probably going to die, but they also knew that their sacrifice would save hundreds of thousands of human lives. The aliens stood in stunned silence. Everything they thought they knew about humans was wrong. This was not a primitive species stumbling into space. These were the descendants of the toughest fighters the galaxy had ever seen. Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout Kepler Station. A voice came over the loudspeakers. "Attention, all beings. Multiple large ships are approaching the station. Unknown design. Please prepare for possible contact protocols." Jake looked at his communicator. It was flashing with an urgent message from Earth Command. "What does it say?" asked Ben. Jake read the message and smiled. "It says Phoenix Colony. Fleet requesting permission to dock. Admiral Chris Adams commanding. We have been waiting 800 years to come home." The aliens looked at each other with fear in their eyes. They were about to meet the descendants of the Phoenix crew. And this time, the humans would not be alone in one old ship. Ben Clark's hands shook as he read the last entry in Captain Roy Adams' journal. The words were written in careful handwriting, but he could see places where the pen had pressed hard into the paper. The captain had been upset when he wrote this. Day 1847. Final entry. We have been in space for over 5 years now. The starbound Phoenix has taken us farther from Earth than any human has ever gone. We have fought crystal ships, tentacle raiders, and insect swarms. Each time, they told us to go back where we came from. Each time we refused. Ben read on, his heart beating fast. The colonies are safe. All 17 of them. New Haven has grown to 50,000 people. The other settlements are smaller. But they are growing too. Our job is done. But the Phoenix will not make it home. The engines are failing. The hull has too many holes to fix. We have used up all our spare parts. Amy Foster had come back into the ship. She stood next to Ben. As he read, the aliens think we are just one ship with primitive weapons. Ben continued reading. They do not know about the colonies. They do not know that we have been building and preparing for 5 years. They think if they destroy us, the humans will give up and go away. They are wrong. Ben looked up at Amy. Amy, do you understand what this means? Keep reading, Amy said. There is more. Ben looked back at the journal. We have sent messages to all the colonies. If the Phoenix is destroyed, they must stay hidden. They must build their defenses. They must wait for Earth to send better ships with better weapons. But they must never surrender this space. Too many people died to claim it. Outside the ship, the aliens were getting louder. They had heard the humans shouting and wanted to know what was happening. What are they so excited about? Asked Pilmas. It is just an old, broken ship. Maybe they found some metal they can use, said Orden. Humans will get excited about anything. Commander Jake Martinez had come back. To the ship. He pushed through the crowd of aliens and went inside. Ben, what did you find? Ben held up the journal. Jake, this ship is not from some unknown alien species. It is from Earth. It left Earth over 800 years ago. That is impossible, Jake said. We did not have that technology back then. No, We did not have good technology, Ben said. But we had brave people. Look at this ship's name. He pointed to a metal plate on the wall. Most of the letters had worn away, but Jake could still read Starbound Phoenix. Amy spoke up. Jake, according to this journal, this ship was not alone. It was protecting 17 human colonies in the outer systems. Jake felt the blood drain from his face. 17 colonies? 800 years ago? The colonies might still be there, Ben said. Hidden, waiting. Pete Johnson came running into the room. Ben, you have to see what I found in the engine room. They followed Pete to the back of the ship. In the engine room, Pete pointed to burn marks on the walls. These are not from accidents, Pete said. These are from weapons hits. This ship was in many battles. But look at how the crew fixed the damage. Pete showed them metal patches welded over holes in the hull. They did not have the right materials, so they used whatever they could find. Parts from different alien ships, metal from asteroids, even pieces of their own equipment. They kept this ship flying with spare parts and hope, Amy said quietly. More than that, Pete said. Look at these weapon mounts. The original human weapons were small, but the crew added bigger guns taken from enemy ships. They learned how to use alien technology. Jake studied the modifications. They got better at fighting as time went on. Much better, Pete said. By the end, this ship had weapons from 3 different alien species. The crew figured out how to make them all work together. Sam Wright called from the navigation room. Everyone, come look at this star chart. They crowded into the navigation room. Sam had found a large chart that showed the outer rim of the galaxy. Red marks covered the map. What are those marks? Jake asked. Battle sites, Sam said. This chart shows every fight the Phoenix had. Look how many there are. The chart was covered with red marks, hundreds of them. They were not just running away from fights, Amy said. They were winning them. Back outside the ship, the aliens had grown tired of waiting. Zillinth, the Vorthic historian, decided to share her knowledge. I will tell you about this ship, she announced to the other aliens. I have seen ships like this before. They are built by species that do not understand space travel. The builders usually die quickly. How quickly? Asked Morgex, the Zilani ambassador. Most last only a few months, Zillan said. The longest I ever heard of was 2 years. Then the ship breaks apart or the crew kills each other. 2 years. In a ship like this would feel like forever, laughed Vectu. The crew would go crazy from fear. Inside the ship, the humans had found something that made them all go quiet. In a hidden room behind the captain's quarters, Amy had discovered a collection of items. There were weapons taken from alien ships, star charts marked with battle plans, and most shocking of all, there were alien uniforms and equipment. Ben, Amy said slowly, I think the crew of this ship captured alien prisoners. Ben looked at the alien equipment. Or maybe they made friends with some aliens who agreed to help them. Pete picked up an alien weapon. It was a Vorthic crystal gun, but it had been modified. Human parts had been added to make it work with human hands. They did not just survive out there, Pete said. They learned. They adapted. They got stronger. Jake found a metal box filled with papers. They were reports written by Captain Adams. As he read them, his eyes got wide. Ben, listen to this report, Jake said. Battle of the 7th System. Phoenix encountered 12 Zilani raiders attempting to attack New Haven colony transport. Enemy ships were larger and better armed. Phoenix used asteroid field for cover. Disabled 6 enemy vessels using focused fire on engine systems. Remaining ships retreated. No human casualties. 12 ships? Amy asked. They fought 12 ships and won? Jake kept reading. Battle of Crystal Nebula. Phoenix and 2 captured. Silani vessels engaged Vorthik fleet of 8 ships. Used nebula gases to hide ship signatures. Enemy could not target effectively. Destroyed 3 Vorthik ships, captured 2 others. Phoenix suffered minor hull damage. Ben sat down heavily. They were not just surviving, they were building a fleet. There is more, Jake said. Battle of the Outer Gate, Phoenix leading fleet. Of 15 ships, engaged combined crush Vorthik force of 27 vessels. Enemy retreated after losing half their ships. Outer systems now secure for human colonization. The room went silent. Outside, they could hear the aliens still laughing and making jokes about the primitive ship. Amy looked at her teammates. Do you realize what this means? 800 years ago, a single human ship with basic technology defeated 3 alien empires. Not defeated, Ben said quietly. According to these reports, they made those empires retreat. The aliens gave up trying to claim the outer systems. Pete was looking at more battle damage. This ship took hits from every kind of alien weapon I have ever seen, but it kept fighting. The crew kept fixing it and making it stronger. Jake found the final battle report. His voice was shaky as he read it aloud. Final engagement. Phoenix. Heavily damaged. Engines failing. Crew of 112 remaining. We have held the line for 5 years. The colonies are safe. The outer systems belong to humanity now. If anyone finds the ship, tell Earth that we kept our promise. The colonies are hidden and strong. They wait for better ships and more humans to join them. Captain Roy Adams, Starbound Phoenix, end of log. Outside the ship, Killmass was getting impatient. The humans have been in there for hours. What could take so long? Maybe they finally understand that the ship is worthless, said Horton. Just. Then, the humans came out of the ship. But they did not look defeated. They looked shocked and excited. Commander Jake Martinez walked up to the group of aliens. His face was serious. Thank you for your opinions about this ship, Jake said calmly. But I think there are some things about it that you do not know. What could we not know? Asked Zillanth. It is clearly the work of a primitive species. Jake held up the journal. This ship was built by humans. It left Earth 800 years ago to establish colonies in the outer systems. The aliens looked at each other and laughed. Impossible, said Morgex. Humans did not have space travel 800 years ago. You are right, Jake said. We did not have good space travel, but we had this ship. And according to these records, it fought ships from all 3 of your species. And it won. The laughter stopped. Dr. Ben Clark put on his work gloves and stepped into the old ship. He was a scientist who studied ancient things found in space. His job was to figure out how old things were and who had made them. Today, he felt excited. This ship was the oldest thing he had ever seen. Behind him walked his team. Dr. Amy Foster carried a bag full of tools for reading old languages. Engineer Pete Johnson had boxes of equipment to test the ship's machines. Navigator Sam Wright brought computers to study the ship's star charts. Be careful where you step, Ben said to his team. This ship is very old. We do not want to break anything important. The team spread out through the ship. Ben went to the main computer room. Even though the ship was old, some of the computers still worked. Green lights blinked slowly on and off. Old screens showed numbers and symbols that Ben did not understand. Yet, outside the ship, aliens had gathered to watch the humans work. They stood in groups, talking and pointing. Look at them, said Vorthik engineer Killmass. His crystal body made soft music when he moved. They think they can learn something from this old junk. The humans are young in space, said Zilani weapons expert Horton. They do not know how to tell good ships from bad ships. This thing breaks every rule of safe building. The reactor design is wrong, added Crash Metallurgist Vic 2. No smart species would build engines this way. They could explode and kill everyone. Killmass walked closer to the ship. I will help them. They need to learn from species who have been in space longer. The crystal alien went to the ship's entrance. Human scientists, he called. I can tell you about this ship's problems. You do not need to waste time studying it. Ben came to the door. Thank you, but we want to study it ourselves first. You are making a mistake, Killmass said. This ship is built all wrong. The reactor is too simple. The weapons are too weak. The hull is too thin. Whoever built this knew nothing about space travel. Maybe, Ben said. But we still want to look. Inside the ship, Amy Foster was reading. Symbols carved into the walls. Most of them were worn away, but she could see enough to know they were not in any alien language she knew. Ben, she called, come look at this. Ben hurried to where Amy stood. She was shining a light on marks cut deep into the metal wall. What do you see? Ben asked. These symbols, Amy said, pointing. They look like letters from an old Earth language. Very old English, maybe from hundreds of years ago. Are you sure? Amy looked closer. I think this says Phoenix, and this part might say Earth, but it is hard to read. In another part of the ship, Pete Johnson was looking at the engines. They were not like any human engines he knew. They were much older and simpler. But as he studied them, he began to see something smart in their design. These engines are not just old, he said to himself. They are built to be fixed easily. Any part can be taken out and replaced without special tools. He looked at the weapon systems next. The guns were small and looked weak, but they were placed in smart spots around the ship. They could turn in all directions. An enemy would have a hard time finding a safe place to attack from. Meanwhile, Sam Wright was in the navigation room. Old star charts covered the walls. The maps showed stars and planets, but not in the way modern ships showed them. These were hand-drawn maps with notes written by hand. Ben, Sam called, you need to see these star charts. Ben came to the navigation room. Sam was pointing at one of the charts on the wall. Look at this, Sam said. This chart shows the path from our solar system to the outer rim, but it was made hundreds of years ago, before we had modern navigation tools. How can you tell? See these star positions? They match where stars were 800 years ago. And look at this. Sam pointed to a small drawing on the chart. That is Earth, and this line shows a path to the outer systems. Ben felt his hands shake. Are you saying this ship came from Earth? I think so. But if it did, it left Earth hundreds of years before we thought humans could travel between stars. Outside the ship, more aliens had come to watch and give advice. Vorthik historian Zillanth stood with the others. The humans are wasting their time, she said. I can tell them what this ship is. It was built by some dead species that tried to copy real starship designs. They failed and died, as expected. Zilani Ambassador Morgex nodded his big head. Young species always try to build ships before they are ready. They think courage can replace knowledge. They learn they are wrong, but usually too late. Inside the ship, Amy Foster had found something that made her heart race. In the captain's room, she found an old book. The leather cover was worn smooth. The pages were yellow with age, but the words inside were clear enough to read. Ben, she shouted. Ben, come here right now. Ben ran to the captain's room. Amy was sitting at the old desk with the book open. In front of her, what is it? Ben asked. It is a journal, Amy said. Her voice was shaking. Written in English. By someone named Captain Roy Adams. What does it say? Amy read from the first page. Day 1 of our mission to establish humanity's first colony beyond the solar system. We know the risks. Our ship is not as good as we wish it could be. but Earth needs us to try. The survival of our species may depend on finding new worlds to live on. Ben sat down hard in the old chair. When was this written? Amy looked at the date at the top of the page. According to this, it was written in the year 2157. That is over 800 years ago. That is impossible, Ben said. Humans did not have the technology to travel between stars 800 years ago. Maybe we did not have good technology, Amy said. But according to this journal, we tried anyway. She turned to another page and read aloud, Day 15. We have left the solar system. The engines are working, but they make strange noises. Pete says they will hold together. I hope he is right. We have 150 people on this ship. They are all counting on us to get them to New Haven safely. New Haven? Ben asked. I think that was the name of their colony, Amy said. She kept reading. Day 22. We met other ships today. They were not human. The crystal beings demanded that we turn around and go back to Earth. They said this space belongs to them. I told them we are just looking for a place to live. They did not care. Ben felt cold. Crystal beings. That sounds like the Vorthik. Amy turned more pages. Day 28. The tentacle creatures attacked us today. Our weapons are small, but we fought back. They did not expect us to fight. We damaged 2 of their ships before they ran away. Roy says we surprised them. Tentacle creatures, Ben said slowly. Zilani. Outside the ship, the aliens were getting impatient. They had been watching the humans work for hours. How long does it take to see that a ship is junk? Asked Horton. Maybe we should go inside and show them, said Vic too. They clearly do not know what they are looking at. But before any of the aliens could enter the ship, they heard shouting from inside. Human voices, excited and loud. Amy Foster came running out of the ship. Her face was white with shock. Ben, she shouted to Dr. Clark, who was still inside. The last entry in the journal. You have to read the last entry. The aliens looked at each other. What could the humans have found that made them so excited about an old, broken ship? Inside the ship, Ben Clark was reading the final entry in Captain Roy Adams' journal. As he read, his hands began to shake. The words on the page were about to change everything the galaxy thought it knew about humans and their place among the stars. Commander Jake Martinez stepped off his ship and onto Kepler Station. The metal floor felt cold under his boots. He looked around at the huge space station that floated between the stars. Hundreds of aliens walked, crawled, and flew through the wide hallways. The air smelled strange, like metal and something sweet he could not name. Jake had come here many times before. Kepler Station was where humans met with other species to trade goods and make deals. Today, he was here to talk about buying new metals that Earth needed. It was supposed to be a simple job. The station was busy. Tall, crystal-like beings called Vorthik moved slowly past him. Their bodies caught the light and threw rainbows on the walls. Near them, creatures with long arms like tentacles were loading boxes onto carts. These were the Zilani. They had blue skin and big, round eyes. In another corner, insect-like aliens called Kresh clicked and buzzed as they talked to each other. Jake walked toward the main trading area. His ship, Earth's Pride, was small compared to the alien vessels around it. Most human ships were. Earth was still new to space travel compared to these other worlds. As he walked, he heard loud laughing. A group of aliens stood near the far end of the docking area, pointing at something. Jake could not see what they were looking at, but they seemed to find it very funny. Look at that thing, said a Zilani with darker blue skin than the others. What kind of fool would build something so ugly? It looks like it might fall apart if you touch it, added a Kresh, its bug-like head shaking. The poor creatures who made this must have been very stupid. Jake moved closer to see what they were talking about. Behind the group of laughing aliens sat an old ship. It looked nothing like the clean, shiny vessels that filled the rest of the docking bay. The ship was covered in scars. Burns marked its hull where weapons had hit it. Dents and holes showed where rocks or metal pieces had crashed into it. The paint had worn away in most places, leaving bare metal that had turned brown with age. One of the engine parts hung at a strange angle, held in place by what looked like wire and metal patches. "I have never seen such poor work," said a tall Vorthik. Her crystal body rang like a bell when she moved. "This ship should not even be able to fly. The beings who built this knew nothing about space travel," laughed the Zilani captain. "They probably died the first time they tried to leave their planet." More aliens gathered to look at the old ship. Soon, a small crowd had formed. They all seemed to think the ship was the funniest thing they had ever seen. Jake felt his face get hot. He did not like hearing aliens make fun of anyone's hard work. Even if the ship looked bad, someone had built it with their own hands. "What is so funny?" Jake asked, walking up to the group. The aliens turned to look at him. A few of them stepped back when they saw his human uniform. "Oh, it is just this old ship," said the Zilani captain, pointing with one of his tentacles. "We were wondering what kind of creatures would build something so ... Basic." "Basic?" Jake looked at the ship again. "It looks like it has been through a lot of fights." "Fights?" The Kresh made a sound like buzzing laughter. "This thing could not fight a space rock, much less another ship. Look at those weapon notes. They are so small and old." "And the engine design?" added the Vorthik. "It breaks every rule of safe space travel. The beings who built this had no idea what they were doing." Jake walked closer to the ship. A woman in a human uniform was standing near its entrance. She had short brown hair and tired eyes. A name tag on her shirt said, "Captain Elstone." "Excuse me," Jake said to her. "Is this your ship?" The woman looked up and smiled. "Not exactly. I am Captain Lisa Stone. My team found this ship floating in deep space near the outer rim. We brought it here to study it. What do you know about it?" Lisa looked sad. "Not much. It is very old. Our tests show it has been in space for hundreds of years. We think the crew died long ago. We found it drifting with no power, no life signs." One of the Zilani had been listening. "Hundreds of years?" he said. "That makes sense. The creatures who built this probably killed themselves trying to use it." "The design is all wrong," said the Kresh. "Any species smart enough to reach space should know better than to build something like this." Lisa's face got red. The beings who built this ship were brave. It takes courage to go into deep space with any ship, even an old one. "Brave or stupid," laughed the Vorthik. "There is often no difference." Jake felt angry. These aliens acted like they were so much better than everyone else. "Have you been inside the ship?" he asked Lisa. "We just started looking around today. The airlock still works, which is surprising. Do you want to see it?" "Yes," Jake said. He looked back at the laughing aliens. "I would like to see what these stupid creatures built." Lisa led him to the ship's entrance. The door was thick and heavy. It opened with a loud grinding sound. Inside, the ship was dark, except for a few small lights that still worked. The hallways were narrow. Everything looked old and worn, but it also looked solid. The walls were thick metal. The doors fit tight in their frames. Someone had built this ship to last. "The crew quarters are this way," Lisa said, leading him down a hall. "We found some personal things that might tell us who these people were." They walked past rooms filled with old machines. Some of the equipment looked familiar to Jake, but older than anything he had seen on Earth. It was like looking at his grandfather's tools. Here, Lisa said, stopping at a door. This was probably the captain's room. Inside the small room was a bed, a desk, and some shelves. On the desk sat a few items that made Jake's heart beat faster. There was a small round ball with red stitches, a baseball. Next to it was a book with a worn leather cover. And in a metal frame was a picture of a blue and green planet that looked very much like Earth. Jake picked up the baseball. It felt real and solid in his hands. Where did you say? You found this ship? In the outer rim, near the edge of known space. Why? Do you recognize these things? Jake looked at the picture again. It was definitely Earth. He could see the shape of the continents under the white clouds. Lisa, he said slowly, I think we need to look at this ship a lot more carefully. What do you mean? Jake held up the baseball. I think the beings who built this ship were not aliens at all. Outside the ship, the aliens were still laughing and making jokes. They had no idea that the old, scarred vessel they mocked might hold the key to understanding humanity's true place among the stars. And they had no idea that their laughter was about to turn into something very different.